I've been asked many times over many years, can you sell insurance nationally in other states than where you live, as well as can you sell insurance internationally? What I'm going to do in this video is go into a deep dive of explaining to you, yes, it is possible to sell outside of your own state, how to do that, and on top of that, if you're interested in international travel, you want to travel the world, but sell insurance in a particular state, how to actually get that done. So if you're interested in travel and interested in selling insurance and doing both simultaneously, then this video is for you, so stick around. My name is David Duford. I own Duford Insurance Group. I train agents to sell final expense, Medicare, annuities, and ACA successfully over the phone or face-to-face. And if you'd like to learn more about how that works, head over to davidduford.com/FAQ for more details. So hat tips to Justin Vom Eigen. Sorry if I messed your name up, Justin. He's a YouTuber in the final expense space. If you haven't checked out his content, go put his name into YouTube. He's got a lot of really good content, lots of good creative stuff that is helping me create some new ideas for content. So Justin, thank you so much for that. So I saw his video that he put out about how he traveled internationally, made a lot of money, and explained kind of the details behind he did it. So I figured, why not throw my 2 cents into the deal and give you some perspective on how to make this happen. So the purpose of this video is going to kind of give you the step-by-step process to making this happen. Whether you want to sell insurance and travel nationally into other states you're not a resident of, or if you want to travel internationally. So look at this video as kind of a process to put in place to make what you desire, some kind of travel and insurance sales simultaneously, a reality. So first thing I'll clarify here, for those of you who are watching who are not a U.S. resident or an American citizen, this is not for you. You have to be an American resident. You have to be an American citizen in order to sell insurance to Americans. So if you don't fit that profile, this video isn't worth your time to watch. So you have to come here and set up some kind of residency in order to do it. Okay, with that out of the way, so the first thing you got to understand is that when you sell insurance, really the main thing the carrier is worried about is the location of where the prospect is. Every state independently regulates the rules for insurance sales. So it matters which state the prospect is in, and therefore if you have a non-resident license to officially sell that person a prospect. In other words, it doesn't matter where you live or where you're at in the world per se. What truly matters is what state that client is in and making sure that you also have the regulatory right, a license, to sell into that state. So by default, if you're traveling nationally, if you want to sell, let's say you live in Tennessee like me, and you want to travel to California and want to sell while you're there and sell locals in California, you can absolutely do that as long as you have a California non-resident license on hand and notify your carrier so that you're ready to sell in California. The likelihood that you can write there is very high and absolutely no problem at all. Likewise, if you want to travel internationally, maybe go to Europe and stay there for a couple of months, and you want to sell over the phone, and you have a non-resident license in California or a resident license in Tennessee, same example, that is completely fine for you to sell insurance into either one of those states. Again, no matter where you are in the world, as long as you have that resident license or that non-resident license for the states that you're prospecting for insurance sales in. So what steps do you need to get a non-resident license to sell insurance if you're going to travel internationally and travel nationally? It's pretty easy. All you need to do is go to nipr.com. That is the website that every agent goes to purchase a non-resident license. You'll go to that page, scroll down a little, and somewhere on the site you'll see an option where it says apply for a license or apply for non-resident license. Just follow through that process. There are no extra tests to take. You might have to send thumbprints in if, depending on the state that you're applying for. But really all you have to do is give the government in that state the money they want. And because you've already passed the test, you don't need to do anything extra. Once you're approved, then you can start selling. And again, it doesn't matter where you're at, whether in that state as a non-resident license or internationally, you are allowed to sell insurance to those prospects. So here's the thing that always cracked me up about any kind of business opportunities that claim that you can travel internationally. They always kind of pitch the dream, right? You're like sitting on a lounge chair out in the sand, you're drinking, you know, a drink, a martini, and you've got your computer open in front of you and you're dialing on the phone and you're like living the life. It's like this like image of what it's going to be like. That always cracked me up because like that's fantasy. What I want to talk to you about is reality. Obviously, you get to do stuff like that if you're traveling, but I think the thing to make sure that you all are clear on is if you're going to travel and enjoy yourself and do the experience thing and understand you're still in business, right? You're not going to be sitting out on the beach 10 hours a day, soaking up the sun and expecting yourself to grind it out on the phone and get people to close. Like the elements of selling in your own home or on the road are still exactly the same. It's the same thing you would do at your house if you're remote or in somebody's home when you're not at the house doing it. So don't get this like fantasy in your mind like, oh, it's going to be wonderful. I'll just like play all day and work a little bit. No, you're going to be working all the same, probably even harder because now you've got all these temptations to do cool stuff at your feet while you travel. So it's important to, again, as I like to say in life, separate business from pleasure. Don't forget that. Now, if you're traveling nationally, and let's say, again, example, I'm going to live in Tennessee, I'm going to travel to California, I'm going to work leads while I'm there. Be very cognizant of the type of leads that you work. And this is going to be more prescient, I think, if you are a face-to-face agent than it is a telesales agent. Telesales agent, you could be anywhere in the world and it doesn't matter. But if you're face-to-face, if you drop like a direct mail lead or a Facebook lead, but especially a direct mail lead, the problem with dropping direct mail is the amount of time that it takes to get the leads back. It may take you weeks, if not months sometimes, to get all of the leads back. There's always some kind of slow response lead that comes in a month or two after. And look, if you're a face-to-face agent and you're not in California anymore in this example, then you're probably not going to be able to ever work that. So that's a lost cost to you that you can never recover. Whereas if you work something like a Facebook lead that's instantaneous, you get the leads very quickly, the leads are shut off, and you don't have to worry about coming back to those leads. So I feel like if you're going to travel nationally and go to different states and sell face-to-face, you should consider a quick turn lead like Facebook leads over something like direct mail. Even though I like direct mail better than face-to-face for, in this case, let's say final expense agents, you want a lead that's going to be very quick and is not going to be privy to sunk costs that you can't recover because of the time it took to get back. One last thing on international travel. Remember that you're going to be in different time zones, okay? So you might be in Europe 6 hours ahead. You may live in California. So you're actually 9 hours ahead of time. And by the time it's 9 or 10 in the morning, you're over here in California. It's going to be very late into the day. So the hours that you're going to have are possibly going to be odd depending on where you actually live. Again, it's this kind of like fantasy of travel. Depending on where you go, you might be so ahead or so behind that the only times to actually call people are the times of day that you would go out and party and do things and have activity. And the time that you wouldn't be doing anything, you'd actually be sleeping or doing other things. So it's not as clear-cut as it sounds. Again, it's a fantasy and it sounds fun, but just understand the reality of it. Now, if you travel down somewhere in the West Hemisphere, you're only a couple hours difference. Obviously, that's different and manageable, but we're talking about like across the Pacific or across the Atlantic. That's when the kind of travel gets a little bit of a frustration, and it may cut into the fun you're intending to have because the only time you can work is during when you would have the fun on your travel vacation. And that's it, guys. That's how you can sell insurance internationally or nationally. Yes, it's something you can do, but be forewarned, whenever you're traveling, there's lots of temptations to have fun and not work. So I do hope that you have and can display the discipline to make that happen. If not, just work your ass off while you're not traveling and save the pleasure and separate it from the business. That's what I do. I like to go on long vacations and not work and not worry about having to get the work done, but separate them both. I think that's the more intelligent play to do, but everybody's different. So just mind the discipline when you go travel. David DeFord here. If you're interested in learning more, DeFord Insurance Group at daviddeford.com/FAQ. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.